The interview prediction grid is a model that allows an applicant to predict the outcome of a job interview based on how they are perceived by the interviewers. Job interviewers using a structured job interview will score each applicant between, on average, a 1 to 4 point system, depending on how much criteria is referenced in the job interview answer. The more an interviewee can identify the job criteria through a higher level of knowledge and experience, the higher they will be scored. And then the highest scoring applicant is then offered the advertised position. The job interview is an analytical process to determine a candidate's potential job performance. The way the human mind operates results in having decisions being made on additional criteria than the applicant's allocated scores against each job criteria. The brain makes decisions in two ways. System 1 is the fast, intuitive mind. This includes being influenced by long-held beliefs, stereotypes and prejudice. And System 2 is the slower, analytical mind, analysing the interview answers against the job criteria. Impressions, initially, are made through the interviewer's unconscious bias. At a basic level, they will like or dislike an applicant for a number of reasons that they may not be consciously aware of. An initial impression can be formed based on an applicant's application form or CV, their handshake at the beginning of the interview, or during the interview question and answer process. A person's sex, ethnicity, height, eye contact, and dress sense influences the interviewer's opinion about them. Even a person's body mass influences their likability factor, which impacts the interview scoring system. This likability factor becomes a funnel that all preceding job interview answers are filtered through. Imagine a male interviewer meets a female applicant applying for a traditional masculine role. When a first meet, an unconscious thought pops into the employer's mind. I don't think women should work in masculine roles, but I know I shouldn't be thinking this. It's this schema that becomes the funnel. For many interviewers, the stereotype that alters their opinions are unconscious. There are three reactions to a prejudice: aware and don't care. In the female applying for a masculine role example, if the interviewer believes that women can't do a male role, then nothing in the world will change this opinion. These are your sexist, racist, ageist interviewers. They're aware of prejudice, but don't want to change their belief. Aware and care. The prejudice pops into their mind, even if they don't believe the stereotype. This is often created through the culture or environment that they grew up in. The interviewer is aware of the bias, and by knowing that they shouldn't be thinking this way, they'll attempt to conduct a fair interview using the structured interview process. But even with this conscious effort, this bias will affect the scoring of the applicants. And finally, not aware and not affected. This is when interviewers don't have a bias with the person that they meet. In this example, the female applicant applying for the masculine role, resulting in that particular stereotype or prejudice not affecting the job application process. Some biases are positive. If an interviewer has an affinity bias towards an applicant, they're more likely to score them higher on the scoring system. Any similarity can increase likability, from a similar dress sense to belonging to the same type of club or supporting the same type of sports team. Previously working for the same organisation, attending the same high school or having similar personalities will all help to increase likability. We also know that attractiveness increases likability. The more beautiful you are, the more an employer will find you suitable for the advertised position. But this is only the case for low-skilled jobs. For high-skilled positions, it is the applicant's skill base which has been proven to be more important. showing that the analytical process when a job interview can trump the opinions made by the initial bias. But not always. An experiment was set up to check if being obese hindered the chances of securing a job interview. The same application forms were sent to different employers, highlighting a key skill set. The only difference was the attached photograph, either showing a picture of an average weight individual or that of an overweight applicant. Evidence showed that being obese, even though all applications had a high skill set, it was the same application form, resulted in less job interview offers. On one hand, we had the analytical fair numeric scoring system of the structured interview. On the other hand, interviewers are influenced by their unconscious biases and emotional decision-making process. When the first few questions of a job interview, an interview identity can be created, which will either reinforce the bias or can override the prejudices. If we go back to the female can't work in masculine roles example, a female with a low level of confidence could reinforce this stereotype. But a confident female expressing her high levels of knowledge and experience can create a new position, a new perspective that challenges the initial limiting beliefs of the interviewer. An applicant's perceived level of knowledge and experience versus their level of confidence creates an interview identity. The interview identity is the employer's perspective, how the interviewee comes across in an interview. As an example, someone may be confident completing industry-related tasks in the workplace, but if they struggle to maintain eye contact, self-disclose weaknesses and mumble throughout the job interview, they may be perceived by an interviewer as being a low candidate. This identity is linked to the job level an employer will perceive the applicant to be suitable for. The goal then is to come across as possessing a high level of knowledge and experience and having a high level of confidence. Evidence shows to increase job offers, applicants must follow these 3 rules. Rule 1. Identify the job criteria. Rule 2. Be a self-promoter. And Rule 3. Be able to communicate with confidence. There are 16 interview identities. To identify how an interviewer may perceive you, simply answer these 4 questions. Read the 4 statements underneath each subheading and choose the one that most sounds like you. Make a note of the allocated points. Total up both points, and for any odd number results, round down to the nearest even number. Again, read the 4 statements under each subheading and choose the one that most sounds like you. Total up both points, and for any odd numbers, again, round down to the nearest even number. You will now have 2 numbers, one indicating your level of knowledge and experience, and the second indicating your level of confidence. Together, these indicate your interview identity: inadequate, unprofessional, self-assured, egocentric, etc. Each interview identity has a generic description of how an employer will perceive an applicant with that interview identity, helping a candidate to recognise what they can improve to be seen as a more suitable employee. To take the test and to access your interview identity, search employmentking.co.uk/IPG.